Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom. Peace and blessings. Shalom and barak ut to the whole house, the whole ba'it of Yashar'al, all 12 tribes, worldwide, wherever your feet are touching the soil on this most kadush, this most separated, this most set apart day, in which it's not just simply a day. It is Yahuwah. And it is a sign and a seal and a mark between Yahuwah and his people. It is a day that identifies us as his covenant people. It is a day in which joins us into covenant with Yahuwah. And it is the day that identifies Yahuwah as the Elohim of creation. Shabbat shalom to the elder brother, Yahudah. Shabbat shalom to the younger brother, Ephraim. Shabbat shalom to the former stranger, the former foreigner, who was formerly estranged from the everlasting covenant, but having received the Ruach of adoption, the Ruach HaKadosh, the Ruach of Yahushua HaMashiach, and whereby having been engrafted into the olive tree, which is Yashar'al, who is Yahushua, and whereby having now becoming fellow citizens of Yashar'al, and whereby now becoming fellow partakers of the same everlasting covenant and promise and inheritance that was given to Yashar'al and to Yashar'al alone. Shabbat shalom to you and your entire house. Peace and blessings, shalom and barak ut to you wherever you are, to the four corners of this flat plain earth, wherever you are listening under the sound of my voice. Shabbat shalom to you, peace and blessings, shalom and barak ut to you and your entire house. Barak Yahuwah, Barak Yahuwah, Barak Yahuwah. To those of you who are on YouTube, who will hear this teaching, this message, this proclamation later on. Once again, we are grateful. And we are grateful to the Master and humbled that he has sent you our way. That he has sent you to spend this most special day, this most Kadush Yom with us, with Yahuwah's remnant, to spend this Shabbat Yom with us. Who are we? If you are asking, some of you who may hear this later on YouTube, who are we? You may ask. Well, we'll start by saying who and what we are not. And we are not some church. No, we're not some circuit. We're not some Greek goddess of sorcery and wine who is known for getting men drunk and turning them into unclean pigs. No, we're not a church. We're not some 501(c) organization. We're not some camp, and we're not some ministry. We simply are who we are, and that is Yahuwah's remnant, his remnant people, whom he's gathering in this end time season, sealing with the seal of the living Elohim upon our forehead, upon the Nephash, establishing a soul tie with us. Thus that now, having his Ruach, we now have the mind of the Mashiach. And having the mind of the Mashiach, we now know his mind. We now know his will. We now know his desire. For no one knows the mind of the man except the Ruach of the man. And no one knows the mind of Yahuwah except the Ruach of Yahuwah. And we have the Ruach of Yahuwah, thus we have the mind of Yahuwah, thus we now know his will and his desire, and thus we are now sealed upon the mind, sealed upon the Nephash, with the seal of the living Elohim, sealed with the Ruach of truth, the Ruach of truth, who leads us into all truth, who leads us into all understanding and knowledge, and who he and he alone is separating us with a greater separation, leading us into Mount Zion. This is who we are. We are his remnant people. We are not some church, not some 501(c) organization, not some ministry and not some camp. We are Yahuwah's remnant. his remnant people in this end time season, in this consummation of the times, at this appointed time, at this muadat, of whom he's sealing in this season with the seal of the living Elohim. And he has given us a number. And that number of those of whom he is sealing in this season is 144,000 across the whole earth, across the four corners of this earth. 144,000 of the house of Yahudah, the elder son, the elder daughter, of whom he is sealing in this season. And once he is sealed the number of his people in this season, he will seal no more. This is who we are. This is who we are. And if you are joining us, either live here via Zoom, and if you are joining us later via YouTube, then perhaps you too are Yahuwah's remnant, because indeed his sheep hear his voice, and another voice they will not follow. And if you are on YouTube, and if you have a desire, if you've heard words that have stirred your ruach, and that has perhaps troubled you, then you have a desire to join us live for either our fourth day gatherings, or otherwise our midweek gatherings, or otherwise called Wednesday. Or if you have a desire to join us for our Shabbat gatherings, once this teaching, this message, this proclamation has been uploaded to YouTube, there in the description box of this video, there will be an email address. You're welcome to use it, to email us, to contact us. We would love to hear from you. We genuinely would. We would love to hear from you if you have a desire to fellowship with us live. Even if you have no desire to fellowship with us, we would still love to hear from you. We genuinely, sincerely would love to hear from you. But if you have a desire to fellowship with us live, once again, there will be an email address located in the description box of this video. There will be an email address there in which you can use to email us if you have a desire to fellowship with us live. Nevertheless, you're welcome. We are Yahuwah's remnant. This is who we are. I am Dawood ben Yahuwah, and this is my Aisha, otherwise known as wife, Ashayah.
Shalom. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. There is a word from the Master for his people. There is a word from the Master Yahuwah for his remnant people. For his remnant people. He has not sent me to any other people. Please hear him. He has sent me to no one else. His sheep hear his voice, and another voice they will not follow. He has sent me to his people, to his covenant people, whether they are asleep or awake. He has sent me to his covenant people, to the house of Yahudah. And if you have been following his teachings at any length, his teachings, not mine, his words, not mine, you understand that his covenant people is the house of Yahudah. The house of Yahudah was never divorced, never received a certificate of divorce. The house of Yahudah was put away, was sent away. Yes, we were. We were sent away from his presence in the year in which some declare was the year 70 AD. But we were not divorced. We were sent away from his presence because of transgression. The contrary, the contrast of this is the other stick, the 10 tribes of the house of Ephraim, the house of Ephraim, in which received a certificate of divorce in the year 722 BCE. And from the year 722 BCE until the present time, they have been scattered amongst the nations, divorced, receiving a certificate of divorce, and put away and sent away since the year 722 BCE, where they remain until this day. Where they remain until this day. In accordance with Genesis chapter 48, verse 19, Ephraim has now become the completion of the nations. He, in other words, has become every nation, tribe, tongue, and people. We see a second witness of this in the book of Revelation chapter 7, beginning at verse 9. in which those coming out of the great distress, the hour of trial, and which is come to try the whole earth, who having washed their robes, coming out of the great distress, every nation, tribe, tongue, and people, having washed their robes in the fires of the great distress, we find them here in Genesis and Revelation, chapter 7, coming out of the great distress. This is none other than the house of Ephraim. This is the younger son. This is the younger son. And in accordance with the Torah, Genesis chapter 29, the younger is never giving away in marriage before the elder. The elder being La'ah, more commonly called Leah, who is the mother of Yahudah, the elder son. The younger daughter being Rachel, or more commonly called Rachel, who is the mother of Yahushua. Yahushua was given the distinction as firstborn after the elder son, Reuben, more commonly called Reuben, slept with his father's wife. The firstborn distinction, or the blessing, the firstborn blessing that was originally given to Adam and then passed down through firstborn sons all the way to Abraham, Isaac, and to Yaakov, was then given to Yahushua, who acted like firstborn, who was more like his father than Reuben. Nevertheless, Rachel being the mother of Yahushua, or Joseph, and Joseph being the father of Ephraim, or Ephraim, Rachel being his grandmother. Ephraim then took on the name of his grandfather, Yasharal, and thus the northern 10 tribes, the northern kingdom, is identified as Yasharal because Ephraim is now firstborn. He is firstborn, and he is the younger son. The younger son is acting like the younger son. He is acting like he's still full of folly because he is still full of folly because he is walking in the nature of his flesh. Thus, the folly must be driven from him. And this folly will be driven from every nation, tribe, tongue, and people via the chastening rod of the fires of the great distress. Yes, Ephraim is destined for the great distress. It is written. These are not my words. It is written. This is Nabuah, otherwise called prophecy. Ephraim is destined for the fires of the great distress, as it is written, out of distress, Yahuwah shall be saved. Yahuwah is Ephraim. Yahuwah is Yasharal. Thus, the Master has been speaking to whomever has eyes to see and ears to hear and a heart to understand that his covenant people, those who are truly in covenant with him, is the house of Yahudah. Yahudah is identified as the 144,000, and it is these of whom he desires to seal with the seal of the living Elohim, and to redeem us from the earth, and to rescue us from the hour of trial, from death, from chaos, from destruction, which is soon to come upon this earth. The house of Yahudah, the natural branches. Romans 11, understand the words of Paul. The natural branches, the house of Yahudah, who was never divorced, who was never broken off from the olive tree. The wild branches are the house of Ephraim. The house of Ephraim, once more, is every nation, tribe, tongue, and people. The house of Ephraim is firstborn. The house of Ephraim represents Adam, represents mankind. And thus, in this season, if one engrafts into the olive tree via and through the greater separation, the Ruach HaKadosh, Yahushua HaMashiach, whereby being engrafted into the olive tree, whereby being engrafted as his covenant people, you engraft into the house of Yahudah. Yes, you do. Because Yahudah remains his covenant people. You then become a Yahudi. You become part of the Yahudim, provided that you begin to act like his covenant people. There is one Torah for both the native born and the stranger. One Torah. So provided that you begin to walk in the light as he is in the light, so that you have fellowship with him and fellowship with us, and so that the blood of Yahushua will cleanse you from all unrighteousness. You're not merely a Yahudi because you fellowship with a Yahudi. You must walk like a Yahudi, look like a Yahudi, act like a Yahudi, speak like a Yahudi. You must do what a Yahudi does. You must become a living Torah. You must become a living light. You must become Torah made flesh. Only in this way will you escape the hour of trial that is soon to come upon the earth. A time unseen like any other. A time that the earth is not prepared for. A time that is coming upon the earth that the earth has never seen, nor will the earth see again. A time in which death is getting ready to put on flesh and come to this earth, and hell is coming with him. Yes, him. As Yahuwah is life, Hasatan, his counterpart, is death. As Yahuwah is light, Hasatan, his counterpart, is darkness. So not only is death coming to the earth, but darkness is coming to the earth. As Yahuwah is the living Torah, as he is righteousness, Hasatan is lawlessness. He is the man of lawlessness. Understand this. He is the man of lawlessness. He is unrighteousness. He is Torahlessness. He is lawlessness. He is chaos. Lawlessness means to be chaotic. It means to be disorderly. Torah is order. And so lawlessness, as the man of lawlessness is coming, disorder, chaos, utter chaos, unlike your mind can comprehend. Utter chaos, death, destruction, darkness is coming to this earth shortly when the man of lawlessness, when Hasatan, the devil, puts on flesh and comes to this earth to gather that which is his. His portion. His portion are those who walk according to the flesh. Because in the words of Shaul in Romans 8, there is therefore now no condemnation, no judgment to those who are in Yahushua HaMashiach, who no longer walk according to the flesh, but according to the Ruach. And those who are left, a part of this greater separation, are the chaff. They are the chaff. The chaff is reserved for destruction. Yes, they are those who are walking according to the flesh. They are those who have not been redeemed by the redemptive blood of Yahushua HaMashiach. They are those who have not truly eaten of his flesh and drinking of his blood and received the seal of the living Elohim. They are reserved for destruction. They are reserved for the destruction of the flesh so that their souls will be saved. He's been proclaiming this to whomever would have eyes to see, ears to hear, and a heart to understand that death is soon to manifest and come to this earth. He desires to save Yahudah, the remnant of Yahudah, in accordance with the text, with the scriptures. The tents of Yahudah will be saved first, so that the comeliness of Dawood shall not be diminished. He desires to save Yahudah first. But there are some criteria, Yahudah, that we've got to meet to be considered a Yahudi man or a Yahudi woman. There are some criteria that we must meet. The master has established a series of building blocks, but we're not going to go back and speak about those building blocks because we're looking straight ahead. If this is your first time listening, whether you're live or whether you are going to hear this later on via YouTube, I encourage you to go back to at least Searching for the Ancient Path, Part 54, to gain an understanding of where we are at or where the master is in this season. So we're not going back. We're only looking ahead, but there is some series of building blocks that the master has established for a Yahudi man and a Yahudi woman to be found well-doing, to be found working while it is still day, because indeed night, darkness, chaos, wickedness, evil, death is coming when no man can work. When no man can work. Lately here, he has made a proclamation and a distinction with respect to a greater separation. This season being a season of an unprecedented greater separation. And it is a greater separation because now we're talking about 144,000 true believers worldwide versus 7+ billion people. Versus 7+ billion people. Where a time is coming upon that 7+ billion people. Time of death is coming that is unprecedented, that has never been seen before. He gives us a brief look, although not all inclusive, although it does not capture the total mayhem and it does not capture all who are going to die. He gives us a brief look in the book of Revelation, where in Revelation 6 it talks about 1/4 of the world's population is going to die when death comes to this earth. 1/4 due to war, famine, disease, and due to war, famine, disease, and wild beast of the earth. 1/4 of 1 billion is what? 1 billion people. 1 billion people is a lot of people. That leaves what? That leaves about 6 billion people. Over in Revelation 9, it says when those 4 messengers are released, another 1/3 are going to die due to them. That's 2 billion people. So now we have a total of 3 billion people. That leaves about 4 billion on the earth. I pray you understand it's not going to be 4 billion people on this earth when the Mashiach finally comes. He says that those days are not short, that no flesh is going to remain. But he gives us a brief look that 3 billion off top are going to die. So we're now in the midst of a greater separation. 144,000 true believers worldwide versus 7+ billion people. Versus 7+ billion people. 144,000 Yahudim. 144,000 of his covenant people, of his remnant people. 144,000 true believers worldwide. Worldwide. Lately, he's been showing us that greater separation, that greater separation encompasses once more 144,000 true believers. True believers. And he's further gave us the understanding now that it is belief. It is belief that separates the righteous from the unrighteous. It is belief that separates the righteous from the unrighteous. The Master has even spoken to those of whom have ears and whom have a heart to understand that most of the 144,000 are going to come from the nations. They're going to come from the nation. What separates the nations from his covenant people? Either you're a believer or you're an unbeliever. The nations are considered to be unbelievers. Yes, they are. The Gentiles, the Goyim, are considered to be unbelievers because they don't believe in the Torah. And you must believe in the Torah before you can obey the Torah. You must believe in the Mashiach before you can receive the greater separation. And so the majority of the 144,000 are going to come from the unbelieving nations. How do I know? How do I know? The Master, let me say this to the nations. Let me say this to the nations because most of you don't know what I'm getting ready to say. Most of you, the nations, don't know what I'm getting ready to say. And some of you who are of the nations amongst us live don't know what I'm getting ready to say to you. For about a year now, I have not been able to see. For about a year now, I have not been able to see the world around me. I have not been able to see. My vision was stricken for about a year. And the Master is using me. He's using me for his esteem, and he's also using me as a stumbling block for many of you. But hear his words. Hear his words. He said that he is going to heal me so that the unbelieving nations believe. So that the unbelieving nations believe. His specific words, so that the nations believe, and that so that my name is esteemed among them. So most of the 144,000 are coming from the nations. He has left me among you. But many of you still do not believe. Thus, it is belief that separates the righteous from the unrighteous. He's sending me to the nations. He is sending me to the nations. When he heals me, he's sending me to the nations so that the nations will believe and his name is esteemed among them. It is belief that separates the righteous from the unrighteous. The nations are hungry. The nations are hungry for truth. The nations are hungry for righteousness. The nations are hungry for a word from the Master. You've heard his words. You've heard the words of the Master. You've heard them proclaimed to me, through me. I've told you I haven't been able to see for about a year now. These are not my words. These lessons, these messages, they're not prepared. You hear his words real time. They are his words. Thus to many of you, I am a stumbling block. But to those of you who believe his words, because I lift him up. I lift him up to draw all men unto him. And to those of you who believe his words, then perhaps he has sealed you to keep you from the hour of trial that is soon to come upon this earth. It is belief that separates the righteous from the unrighteous. And if you're taking notes this day, this is Searching for the Ancient Path, Part 90. The greater separation has begun. The greater separation has begun. Belief separates the righteous from the unrighteous. It always has, and it always will. Belief separates the righteous from the unrighteous. And for a subtitle, write this down. Belief will save your life. Belief will save your life. It always has, and it always will. Searching for the Ancient Path, Part 90. The greater separation has begun. Belief separates the righteous from the unrighteous. Belief will save your life. Belief will save your life. Either you believe or you do not. And if you believe, if you truly believe, if you are a true believer, then you will bear the fruit of your belief. You will bear the fruit of righteousness. Because if you believe, then you will obey. If you believe, you will obey. If you believe, you will repent and you will obey. And you will be immersed in the name of the Master Yahushua HaMashiach for the forgiveness of your sins. Thus having the penalty of death that was pronounced and proclaimed over all mankind because of the transgression of Adam and Kua paid in you through belief in Yahushua HaMashiach. Because when you are immersed in his name, by belief you are being impaled with him. And then you are being buried with him. And you are being resurrected to the newness of life. Thus satisfying the judgment of death, because the wages of sin is death. Thus satisfying that penalty that was pronounced over all mankind. Yes, the flesh must die. Either now or later, the flesh must die. And having died, being raised to the newness of life, and having been raised to the newness of life through belief, you receive the greater separation. You receive the promise of the Ruach HaKodesh, the living water, the living bread. You then partake of his flesh and drink of his blood. For the promise is to you and your children. For those of you who are near, and to those of you who are far off, for as many as Yahuwah our Elohim shall call. If you believe, only if you believe. Belief causes repentance. Belief causes godless sorrow, or it calls righteous sorrow. Righteous sorrow leads to repentance, which leads you to be immersed in his name, which leads to the death, the required death, burial, and resurrection, dying in him, being impaled with him in the immersion, and being buried with him, and being resurrected to the newness of life as a renewed wineskin, and thus paving the way to have new wine, new life poured into you, the greater separation poured into you, receiving the seal of the living Elohim through belief, and only through belief. 144,000 true believers worldwide will receive the seal of the living Elohim. True believers True believers. And true belief separates the righteous from the unrighteous. True belief will save your life. True belief will save your life. Line upon line. Precept upon precept. Here a little. There a little. Searching for the ancient path, part 90. The greater separation has begun. Belief, true belief, separates the righteous from the unrighteous. It is the righteous that are going to Mount Zion. The unrighteous are going to be left for death when death manifests shortly. Hasatan comes to gather what is his. To gather what is his. Thus, hear him. True belief will save your life. True belief will save your life. Give us a precept, little one.
Hebrews 12, the whole chapter.
Barak Yahuwah, we left off this past fourth day reading what is called by some the Hall of Fame of belief. The Hall of Fame in which most translations declare as faith. But the Hall of Fame of belief or trust or in the Abrit, AMANA. AMANA. Now, I haven't done an in-depth study on AMANA because I'm not a scholar. I'm not a smart man. I know the death, burial, and resurrection of Yahushua HaMashiach. I know the dumb, I know the blood. And if you don't know the dumb, you don't know the blood, you don't know anything, you don't know the Torah. Thus I know Yahushua, and I have the mind of Yahushua. I have the mind of the Ruach HaKadosh. Thus I know the mind of my master. I know his will, I know his desire. But I have no will, I have no desire of my own. I have no knowledge of my own. I have no understanding of my own. I have nothing. So I'm not a scholar, and I have not done some deep study on the word AMANA, which means belief. Which means belief. But taking, I have learned a few words in my 50 plus years on this earth. But taking a look, taking a cursory look, a cursory look, a quick look at this word AMANA. And again, I have not studied this word out. I can't see you right now. But I believe that AMANA is comprised of the Hebrew letters Aleph, Mam, Nun, and Hey. Aleph, Mam, Nun, and Hey, AMANA. We recognize that the Aleph is symbolized by an ox, and it means power. Oh, there's power in belief, ain't it, little one? Yes, there is. That's power in belief. That's power in belief. But we know that the Aleph is represented by an ox, which means power. And this Aleph, it always points towards Yahuwah, because he is the Aleph and the Tar, the beginning and the everlasting covenant. But then we find the Abarit, the Hebrew letter Mam, which is represented by water. Water is always a representation of spirit. Thus, for those who believe in his name, out of their belly shall flow rivers of living water. So Mam, represented by water, is represented a representation of spirit. Wherever you see Mam, this is a representation of spirit. So automatically now, you know that belief is spiritual. Yes, it is. Belief is spiritual. No one can believe in him and come to him unless the Spirit draws them, little one. Unless they be drawn by him. Belief is spiritual. Thus you have the unbelievers who have no Ruach. And true believers who have Ruach. The seal of the living Elohim. Mam represents water. Water represents spirit. So belief is spiritual. Belief is spiritual. But let's take a look now at the Abarit letter Nun. At the Abarit letter Nun. Nun is represented by seed. Seed and heir and inheritance. Seed. We are the seed of Yahuwah. True believers, hear him. Hear him. True believers who have the seal of the living Elohim, Mam. We are his seed. Yes, Matthew chapter 13. Either you're the good seed, the seed from above, Are you the bad seed, the seed of the wicked one, the one below? 144,000 true believers worldwide. They don't hear, little one. 144,000 true believers worldwide. Either you're the seed from above or the seed from below. Yahushua is the seed. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. He is the seed, and that seed must be planted in this dirt. Thus, it is written that we become co-heirs with him. Yes, because the seed is planted in this dirt. The seed being ruach, the seed being breath, the seed being life, the seed being the greater separation. Yahushua HaMashiach, the seed being the seal of the living Elohim. Belief is spiritual. Belief is spiritual. And those who are true believers, 144,000 worldwide, we are his seed. We are the heirs. We are the heirs, and we will receive an inheritance. Believers, true believers, will receive an inheritance. And as the letter mom as the letter mom indicates, we are those spirit, ruach, living water, who have the seal of the living Elohim. And true belief is going to save your life in this season. As the greatest separation begins. And that greater separation is a separation between believers and unbelievers. True believers and unbelievers. Because there are many who say they believe. Many who say that they believe. But they truly do not. 144,000 true believers versus 7+ billion people reserved for wrath. Belief always has, always will, separates the righteous from the unrighteous. Belief will save your life. Last fourth day, we read the Hall of Fame of Belief. What's called by many the Hall of Fame of Belief, which is Abarim, Hebrews chapter 11. Chapter 11, we read Abarim chapter 11, and we stopped off there. Today we begin with Abarim of Hebrews chapter 12. Continuing in the way of belief, in the way of belief, the way of Abraham, the way of our righteous fathers, continuing in the way of belief, because indeed, if you believe the word of Elohim, if you believe the Torah, as the word of Elohim is for believers, Nabuah, prophecy is for believers, signs and wonders are for non-believers, and this is why he's sending us to the nations, so that the nations will believe, and so that his name is esteemed among them. But Nabuah, prophecy, the word of Elohim is for believers. If it is written, it shall happen. It will happen. It must happen, because Yahuwah has spoken it, and his word is eternal, and it cannot change as he cannot change. A true believer, irrespective of a sign, as Abarim, Hebrews chapter 11, I indicated that all those who died without receiving the promise, without seeing the promise of a better homeland, a homeland not made with hands, a homeland descending from Shamayim, as there will be a renewed earth and a renewed Shamayim, and a renewed Jerusalem will come down, and the booth, the tent, the sukkah of Yahuwah will come to make his abode among men, where he would dwell amongst his people throughout eternity. That better homeland, in which none of them received, none of them saw, but they believed that it was coming. And none of us will see it before them. All of us, because our master is righteous and he is just, all of his righteous people will see that better homeland at the same time. None before the other. Thus eye is not seen, ear is not heard, nor of the mind conceived the things that Yahuwah has prepared for those who love him. And so now, in the continuation now today, we start first precept, we start in Hebrews, Abarim, chapter 12, as a continuation in this way of belief. Abarim, Hebrews, the book of Hebrews, chapter 12, beginning at verse 1. Read, little one.
We too, then, having so great a cloud of witnesses.
We too, so having a cloud of witnesses of those who walk the way of belief. Of those who walk, hear him, of those who walk and establish this way of belief here on earth, for us to follow as examples. Now, having such a great cloud of witnesses, read.
All around us.
All around us, read.
Let us lay aside every weight.
Let us lay aside every weight.
And the sin.
And the sin.
Which so easily entangles us.
And the sin that so easily entangles us, read.
And let us run with endurance.
And let us run with endurance.
The race set before us.
The race set before us. Now this word endurance here, I told you I'm not a scholar and I haven't studied it. But I've come across it. And so because I'm not a scholar, I can't tell you what the Greek word is. And I'm not going to help little one do it because little one I have to keep on point now. Because I don't want to disturb her. I don't want to disturb you, little one, because we ain't talked about this. So I don't want to disturb you. Barak Yahuwah. Barak Yahuwah. But that word in the Greek, I remember us looking at it, little one, and it alludes to belief. It alludes to belief. That word endurance, patience, alludes to belief. So let us run this race of belief. Read that again, little one.
And let us run with endurance.
And let us run with endurance. In other words, let us run with belief. Let us run with belief the race set before us. Do you not know that you have, when you're running a marathon or a long race, I don't know about you, I used to be a runner. Whether or not it's a 3K, a 5K, a 10K, you have to believe, little one, that you can finish the race. You have to have the belief that you can finish the race. And if you have the belief that you can finish the race, this is a play on words, then more than likely you're going to endure the race. You're not going to run a race, little one, and endure a race that you don't believe that you can finish. So you must believe that you can run the race, that you can finish the race. There must be belief. There must be belief in order for you to endure. There must be belief. And in order to run, you must lay aside every weight, and every sin that so easily besets you. And if you are a true believer, then you are indeed laying aside every weight and every sin that could incumbent you from completing this race and ending up at Mount Zion. The Master has spoken that has told you to look around. Look around. Many whom you love, many whom you know, as this greater separation continues, as he did not come to bring a shalom, but a sword to divide sister from brother, son from father from son, and mother from daughter. Sister from brother, and a man's enemies will be those of his own household. As this greater separation continues, you must be willing to lay aside every weight and every sin that encumbers you, that prevents you running this race of belief, so that you can endure through belief until the very end. Read, little one.
Looking to the Prince and Perfecter of our belief, Yahushua, who for the joy that was set before him endured the stake, having despised the shame and sat down at the right hand of the throne of Elohim. For consider him who endured such opposition.
Consider him who believed such, who endured such opposition. Why? Because of strong belief. Strong belief. He operated in belief. He was fully man, yet fully Elohim. Yet as fully man, he walked on water. Yes, he did. And he rebuked demons with but a word. He rebuked the demon that his taught ones could not cast out, that the demon of epilepsy with but a word. Did not even give them a chance to speak because he had belief. And they asked him, why, Master, could we not cast it out? Because of your unbelief. Because of your unbelief. But this one only comes out through prayer and fasting. He was only able to endure what he did because of belief. And he is the author and the finisher of what? Of our belief. He came to show us how to believe, how to be true believers, how to be true Yahudim, how to be his covenant people, how to live. For if we believe, then we are careful, then we'll be careful to obey. And if we are careful to obey, we shall live. Because disobedience, unbelief leads to death. As the wages of sin is death. Come on, read, little one.
From sinners against himself, lest you become weary and faint in your lives.
Mm-hmm.
You have not resisted unto blood, striving against sin. And you have forgotten the appeal which speaks to you as to sons. My son, do not despise the discipline of Yahuwah, nor faint when you are reproved by him.
Don't faint, Yahudah. Don't faint when you're afflicted. Don't faint when pressure comes. Your belief is being proven. Your belief is being built up. Your belief, you're being built up stronger in belief so that the adversary cannot tear this house down. This house, this spiritual house, is being built up through belief, through affliction, through trial, through pressure, so that the adversary cannot tear it down. And the master will chastise us. Yes, he will. He will chastise us. And any good father will chastise his son to make him better, to make him stronger, to make him a better man. Yes, he will. Yes, he will. Come on, read, little one.
For whom Yahuwah loves, he disciplines.
Yes.
And flogs every son whom he receives.
Yes.
If you endure discipline.
And flogs every son that he receives. And flogs every son that he receives. Do not think it's strange when a fiery trial comes upon you. In the words of Yahushua, it says, count it all joy when faced with various trials, knowing that the testing of our belief produces patience, produces belief. So let belief have its perfect work, so that we are perfect and complete and lacking nothing. And lacking nothing. He flogs every son that he receives. Do not think it's strange when the affliction, when the fiery trial comes upon you, Yahudah. Your belief is being built up. You're being separated. You're being separated. And it is true believers who are being separated in this season from unbelievers. 144,000 true believers versus 7+ billion reserved for wrath. Come on, read, little one.
If you endure discipline, Elohim is treating you as a son.
Barak Yahuwah.
For what son is there whom a father does not discipline? But if you are without discipline, of which all have become sharers, then you are illegitimate and not sons. Moreover, we indeed have fathers of our flesh, disciplining us, and we paid them respect. Shall we not much rather be subject to the Father of YAHUAH'S and live?
So shall we much more, not much more, be subject to the Father of YAHUAH'S and live? And live. This testing, this proving is so that we will live. It is building up our belief. It is building up fruit. The more we believe, the more we will obey. The more we'll obey, and the more we obey, the more we are storing up treasures in Shamayim. So that we'll hear those words, well done, my good and my trustworthy servant. So that we'll have the understanding that, behold, he is coming quickly. And his reward is with him. To reward each according to his works. To reward each according to his obedience. Endure. Endure the testing. Endure the trials, because it is building you up. It is building your belief up. It is building our belief up so that the adversary cannot tear us down later. Come on, read.
For they indeed disciplined us for a few days, as seemed best to them. But he does it for our profit.
Yes.
So that we might share in his apartness.
So that we may share in his separateness. Do you understand? You say you want to be separated. You say you want to be set apart. You say you want to be kadosh, but you don't want to endure testing. You don't want to improve. You don't want to endure the proving. You don't want to endure the affliction. You don't want to endure the pressure and the trial. You don't want to endure the pruning. You don't want to endure it. You don't want to endure the discipline. But you say you want to be separated. You say you want that oil. I heard somebody say once, and I told you I'm not a scholar. I don't know. I'm telling you, I heard someone else say it. I haven't read it. But it is said that to get one drop of oil from an olive, that it has to endure so many pounds of pressure. So many pounds of pressure that you and I couldn't endure, not of ourselves. But just to get one drop of oil from an olive, it has to endure so many pounds of pressure. You say you want oil. You say you want the oil of the Ruach HaKodesh. You say you want oil for your lamp. You say you want to be the wise virgins with oil in your lamp. You say you want to be a part of that greater separation. If you say these words with your lips, get ready for the proving. Get ready for the testing. Get ready for perhaps affliction. Get ready for discipline. Get ready for some pounds of pressure to be applied to get just one drop of oil out of you. They used to have this saying in the Christian church, little one, you know, they love these sayings, and they would say a saying or catch a saying, and it would catch on in all the churches. But one of the sayings they used to say, the preachers used to always say, you want my glory. You don't know my story. You don't know the pounds of, how much pound of pressure I've had to endure to just get that one drop of oil out of me. But he's doing it for a greater purpose, for his esteem, to build his beloved son up, to build his beloved daughter up for use of him, to become true Yahudim, to be built up a strong spiritual house so that the adversary cannot tear us down later. Come on, read, little one.
And indeed, no discipline seems pleasant at the time, but grievous. But afterward it yields the peaceable fruit of righteousness to those who have been trained by it.
Righteousness, believers. It is belief that separates the righteous from the unrighteous, and your belief will be tested and proven and tried under pressure. It must. It says he flogs every one of all of his sons that he received. He flogs all of them. In the text it says all he has to do is receive you. He flogs all of his sons that he receives. If you're not receiving a flogging, perhaps you ain't his son. Perhaps you ain't his son. Thus, it is said, 144,000 true believers worldwide across this flat plain earth. There are many who open their mouths to say that they believe. But the minute they open their mouth, you begin to see, you hear that they are not true believers, because out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. As soon as they open their mouths, you see them. If they're not opening their mouths, then observe their character, observe their trait, observe their actions and their inactions. It won't take long. It won't take long before their heart finds them out. Just observe them. Listen to them. All who say that they're true believers are not true believers. True believers are Yahudim. True believers are his covenant people. Listen, observe. And wherefore come out. Do not unequally yoke yourself with unbelievers. For what part has light with darkness? And what part has Belial, wickedness with the Mashiach? Wherefore come out from among them. Be ye separate. Touch not the unclean thing, and he will receive you. It is belief that separates the righteous from the unrighteous, and it is true believers that he proves and that he disciplines, because we are his sons. We are sons and daughters of Elohim. And he proves us, tests us, disciplines us. He applies pressure to us to get that one drop of oil from us, to increase the belief, to increase our belief, so that we are perfect and complete and lacking nothing. 144,000 true believers worldwide. True belief is going to save your life in this season. True belief is going to lead you to Mount Zion. Yes, it is. Hear him. True belief is going to lead you to Mount Zion. 144,000 true Yahudim, true believers worldwide. Verses 7+ billion reserved for wrath. Come on, read, little one.
So strengthen the hands which hang down and the weak knees.
Strengthen your weak hands and your weak knees.
And make straight paths for your feet.
And make straight paths for your feet. Strengthen yourselves. Bear up under the pressure. Believe. And when running that race, when running that marathon, when your lungs start to burn, your hands and your knees start to get weak, and your feet start to swell and your shins, they start to hurt. Those thigh muscles, they start to burn, and those calf muscles start to burn. But you still got 22 miles to go. You've only ran 3 miles. Or 20, you've only ran 23 miles. You still got 23 miles to go. But your body, your flesh, little one, it'll deceive you, won't it?
Oh, yes.
Oh, it'll deceive you.
Yes, it will.
It'll make you think, I can't go no further. I'm too weak. I can't take another step. But you've been training. You've been training all this time. You run 3 miles with your eyes closed, but now, when the rubber hits the road, your flesh, your body, that weak flesh is telling you that you can't go no further. It's telling you that you can't go no further. And you listen to the flesh, you'll stop before the race ends. And in this season, if you stop before the race ends, that's going to lead to death. That's going to lead to death. Believe that even though my flesh is telling me this, believe that I can endure. I can do all things through Mashiach who gives me strength. I can endure, not by my strength, not by power, not by might, but by your Ruach, thus says Yahuwah. I can continue. I can endure the pressure. Because in enduring the pressure, there is oil being produced. There is oil being produced. AMANA, Aleph, Mam, Noon. There is oil being produced. And my belief is being strengthened. And I'm being built up a spiritual house. Not a fleshly house, but a spiritual house. One in which the adversary cannot tear down. True believers, 144,000 of them worldwide, will endure the pressure, will believe, will not listen to the flesh, will hold on, will believe, and their belief will save their lives. Their belief will save their lives. Their belief will lead to Mount Zion in this season. Shortly, hear him. Shortly, real shortly. And the Master has spoken this many times. If you have the discernment of a gnat in this season, you can see what is coming upon this world. Death is coming. Hasatan, who is death, is coming, and hell is coming with him. There's a separation going on. There's a greater separation going on between true believers, true Yahudim, true covenant people, and 7+ billion people of the house of Ephraim, who is reserved for wrath. That you just read that a father, he corrects his son, does it not, little one? It's not Ephraim, his firstborn. Whether Ephraim wants to be his firstborn or not, whether Ephraim wants to be his son or not is inconsequential. Ephraim is his son. Because of the promise that he made to our fathers, to Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Ephraim is his son. And Ephraim is going to endure correction via the rod of the great distress is coming down upon his back, even if that means the destruction of his flesh, so that his soul will be saved. 144,000 true believers worldwide in this season as a part of the greatest separation, receiving the seal of the living Elohim. Believe, obey, and endure the pressure. Read, little one.
Lest the lame be turned aside, but instead to be healed. Pursue shalom with all.
Pursue shalom with all men, Yahudah. Pursue shalom with all men, Yahudah. Read.
And pursue apartness.
And pursue apartness. Pursue separateness. Pursue separateness. Read.
Without which no one shall see the Master.
Without which no one shall see the Master. Separateness, set apartness is anointing. Yes, it is. It is Yahuwah who separates, and he separates via the separated spirit. Pursue separateness. Pursue him. Pursue the anointing. Pursue the oil. Pursue the greater separation. For without which no man shall see him. But when you pursue, pressure will come. Pressure must come. Proving must come. Testing must come. Discipline must come. In many cases, in most cases, affliction must come to build up the spiritual house in AMANA, in belief, in separateness, so that the adversary cannot tear us down. Come on, read, little one.
See to it that no one falls short of the favor of Elohim, that no root of bitterness springing up causes trouble, by which many become defiled, lest there be anyone who whores or profanes one like Ashu, who for a single meal sold his birthright.
If you believe, if you truly believe, you will avoid every manner of unclean thing. You will make a distinction between the clean and the unclean. You will not compromise. You will not make up excuses. You will simply do righteousness. You will simply do righteousness. If you truly believe, you will simply do righteousness. Thus, it is belief that separates the righteous from the unrighteous. We have no excuse. Either we believe or we do not believe. And if we truly believe, and have truly received the separated spirit, because we can only receive him through belief. If we truly believe, then we will do righteousness and remove ourselves from every manner of wickedness, from every manner of unclean thing. And we will simply do righteousness. 144,000 true believers worldwide in this season. Come on, read.
For you know that afterward, when he wished to inherit the blessing, he was rejected, for he found no place for repentance, though he sought it with tears. For you have not drawn near to a mountain touched and scorched with fire, and to blackness and darkness and storm, and a sound of a trumpet and a voice of words, so that those who heard it begged that no further word should be spoken to them, for they could not bear what was commanded. If even a beast touches a mountain, it shall be stoned or shot through with an arrow. And some fearsome was the sight that Moshe said, I exceedingly fear and tremble. But you have drawn near.
But you have drawn near, read.
To Mount Zion.
To Mount Zion, Barak Yahu. But you, Yahudah, he's speaking to Yahudim, yes he is. But you, Yahudah, hear him, have drawn near to Mount Zion. If you're a true believer, if you are a true Yahudi, but you have drawn near to Mount Zion. Read.
And to the city of the living Elohim.
And to the city of the living Elohim. Read.
To the heavenly Jerusalem.
To the heavenly Jerusalem. Read.
To myriads of messengers.
To myriads of messengers. Read.
To the entire gathering and assembly of the firstborn.
To the entire gathering and the assembling of firstborn. You ain't firstborn unless you've been born from above. You ain't firstborn unless you come from the loins of Ishkak, being born of the free woman and not born of the slave woman. Ishmael was not firstborn. Yitzchak is firstborn, and he was born of the free woman. The Jerusalem from above, the Ruach HaKadosh, the spirit of the living Elohim, having the seal of the living Elohim upon us, having the separated spirit, the Ruach HaKadosh. If so, we have a place amongst the assembly of firstborn above. Hear him. Understand the significance of firstborn. It is the firstborn who is the seed, who is the noon. It is the noon meaning seed, meaning heir, meaning inheritance. It is the firstborn who is the seed, and it's the seed who will receive the inheritance. If you ain't firstborn, Esau was firstborn of the flesh. Ishmael was firstborn of the flesh. Cain was firstborn of the flesh. If you're not firstborn from above, having the seal of the living Elohim, you ain't firstborn. You're not firstborn. 144,000 true believers who have the seal of the living Elohim, who have been born from above, will see Mount Zion in this season, are going to draw near to Mount Zion in this season, are going to see the Lamb upon Mount Zion and be weighed before our Master as a first fruit offering, well acceptable and pleasing unto him. The myriads of those from every nation, tribe, tongue, and people will receive that distinction as firstborn, because Ephraim truly is firstborn, after they have washed their robes in the fires of the great distress, and after they have received their white robes, having endured the discipline of the master, having endured his chastening rod and the fires of the great distress, where most will give up their lives, and will rise in the first resurrection, however, but having given up their lives so that their souls will be saved. Rising in the first resurrection. Rising in the first resurrection. We must have that distinction of firstborn to inherit. And we only have that distinction of firstborn if we indeed have been born from the loins of our Father, who is not flesh and blood, but who is Ruach. Come on, read, little one.
Having been enrolled in heaven, and to Elohim, the judge of all, and to the Ruachs of righteous men made perfect, and to Yahushua, the mediator of a new covenant, and to the blood of sprinkling, which speaks better than the blood of Habal. Which speaks better than the blood of Habal, which cries out louder than the blood of Habal, that pleads louder than the blood of Habal, the blood of the blood of the renewed covenant, via the greater separation, Yahushua HaMashiach, of whom we must partake of. We must eat of his flesh and drink of his blood, and you must do that by belief. By belief, you can only eat of his flesh and drink of his blood. By belief, this is spirit. These words are spirit. I'm not talking fleshly things. These words are spirit, these words of life. We must take on the Ruach HaKadosh. We must eat of his flesh and drink of his blood. We must partake and drink of the living water. By belief. By belief. And only in this way will we be part of the greater separation, to be brought to Mount Zion, to be given a song that no one else can sing. Read, little one. Take heed not to refuse the one speaking, for if those did not escape who refused the warning on earth, much less we who turn away from him from heaven, whose voice shook the earth then, but now he has promised, saying, yet once more I shake not only the earth, but also the heaven. And this yet once more makes clear the removal of what is shaken, as having been made so that the unshaken matters might remain. Therefore, receiving an unshakable reign, let us hold the favor through which we serve Elohim pleasingly, with reverence and awe. For indeed our Elohim is a consuming fire.
Barak Yahuwah. Barak Yahuwah. Judgment is coming upon this earth. Wrath is coming upon this earth. The only way to escape it is to be true believers. True believers are part of his covenant people, the House of Yahudah, having received the seal of the living Elohim, which we can only receive through belief, having partaken of his flesh and drinking of his blood, having received his breath, having partaken of the living water, which we can only drink through belief, having received the separated spirit, the spirit of separation, the Ruach HaKadosh, which we can only receive through belief. Because if we believe, if we truly believe, we will turn from uncleanness. We will turn from unrighteousness. And we will turn back to Torah. We will turn back to that which pleases him. We will make a distinction between the clean and the unclean without compromise if we truly believe. Which leads to being immersed in the Kadosh name of Yahushua HaMashiach, where we are impaled by belief with him, and buried by belief with him, and resurrected by belief to the newness of life, resurrected as a renewed creature. As if any man is in HaMashiach, he is a new creature. Old things have passed away. Behold, all things have become new. Resurrecting as a new creature, and as a new creature, having satisfied the penalty of death that was pronounced over all mankind because of the sin that Adam and Kua partook of. And transgression the command of that every tree of the garden you may partake of, except of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, for the day that you partake of that tree is the day that you shall die. Thus they died the very same day that they partook of the tree. A day to Yahuwah is 1,000 years. They lived to be 930 years old. Their death penalty then passed on to all their seed. And so the flesh must die. It must die. It belongs to Hashatan, who is death. It was sold to him. When they obeyed him, it was sold to him. He owns it. He is death. And he's coming to capture what is his. Those who are dead, who have not repented, truly repented, and who do not truly believe, and who have not truly been impaled with the Mashiach through immersion, who have died with him, who have put the flesh, who have put to death the flesh and the works of the flesh, and have been buried with him, and have been resurrected as renewed creatures, raised to life in Ruach, receiving the breath, the living water, the blood of Yahushua, having the seal of the living Elohim upon their foreheads. 144,000 true believers in this season who will live because they put to death the works of the flesh. They've put to death the flesh and have been raised to life in Ruach. 144,000 worldwide. True believers worldwide versus 7+ billion with the house of Ephraim. Mankind who are still walking in their folly, operating in their folly, operating according to the flesh. I draw your attention again to Romans 8. The mind of the spirit is life and shalom. The mind of the flesh is death. And death is coming soon to gather and to take what is his, to steal, to kill, and destroy. And he has a legal right to do it. And Yahuwah is going to allow it. And he's going to use him as a golden cup of wrath in his hand to pour out his wrath upon his wayward son to destroy the flesh so that his soul will be saved. True believers, true belief separates the righteous from the unrighteous. Belief in this season will save your life. Give us another precept, little one.
Ephesians 6:10-20.
Ephesians chapter 6. Ephesians chapter 6. Ephesians chapter 6. Beginning at verse 10, reading through verse 20. Belief separates the righteous from the unrighteous. Belief will save your life. The greater separation has begun. Ephesians 6, verses 10 through 20. Verses 10 through 20. Beginning at verse 10, read, little one.
For the rest, my brothers, be strong in the master.
Be strong in the master.
And in the mightiness of his strength.
And in the mightiness of his strength, or in the power of his might, read.
Put on the complete armor of Elohim.
Put on the complete armor of Elohim, which is the Mashiach. We are to put on the Mashiach. He is the complete armor. Us and him, him and us, he is the complete armor. We are to put on the greater separation. We're to put him on. We're to put on Ruach. We're to put on the greater separation. We're to put on Yahushua HaMashiach. He is the complete armor of Elohim. Read.
For you to have power to stand against the schemes of the devil.
Only he has power. Only the Ruach has power. Only Yahuwah has power to stand against the devil, to resist him. The flesh does not have this power. Only in Ruach can we stand and resist the devil. Only with Ruach in us and us in Ruach, with us in Yahushua, Yahushua in us, having taken on him, having taken on the full armor, can we withstand the devil in the evil day? Come on, read.
Because we do not wrestle against flesh and blood.
We do not wrestle against flesh and blood. Those who are not flesh and blood desire to sift you, Yahudah. The desire to sift you is wheat, Yahudah. And the master allows it, Yahudah. He allows this sifting to take place, to build up a spiritual house so that they cannot tear us down. But in this sifting, Yahudah, perhaps affliction, pressure, persecution, they desire to sift you from the belief. Yes, they do. They desire to sift you from belief. And you must stand strong, Yahudah. You must stand strong in the master and the power of his might. And you cannot do so unless you've taken on him, unless you've taken on his life, unless you've taken on his nature and his character, unless you've taken on Yahushua, the greater separation, the full armor of Elohim. Read, little one.
But against principalities, against authorities, against the world rulers of the darkness of this age, against spiritual matters of wickedness in the heavenlies. Because of this, take up the complete armor of Elohim.
Take up the complete armor of Elohim, Yahushua HaMashiach, read.
So that you have power to withstand in the wicked day. And having done all to stand.
Yes.
Stand in, having girded your waist with truth.
Having girded your way with truth. What is truth? Thy word is truth. Yahuwah is truth. Yahuwah is his word. Yahuwah is Torah. Thy word is truth. We're talking about Ruach here. We're talking about Yahushua HaMashiach. In the beginning was the word, and the word was with Elohim, and the word was Elohim. He is truth. He is truth. Put on truth. Put on Ruach. Put on Yahushua HaMashiach. Put on the full armor. Come on, read.
And having put on the breastplate of righteousness.
Having put on the breastplate of righteousness. Yahuwah Zarakanu. Yahusha has become our righteousness. When we put him on, we are clothed in righteousness. We are clothed in his righteousness. When as a good husband, as a husband is required to feed his wife, to give her food, to give her clothing, and to give her marital rights. When he becomes our husband, when he enters us as a man enters a woman and becomes our husband, he then clothes us. He clothes us in righteousness. He clothes us in himself. He clothes us in Ruach. He is the breastplate of righteousness. He is Yahuwah Zadakanu. Yahuwah is our righteousness. Read.
And having fitted your feet with the preparation of the good news of Shalom.
He is the good news. He is the good news. By his shed dung, by the shedding of the blood of the renewed covenant, with having the veil of the temple torn, there is now shalom between us and Elohim, and we can seek him in boldness. We can lie before him and come. We can lie on the threshing floor, that place of intimacy, that place of where we go to seek a husband. That place to where we go to be intimate with our husband. That place where we go to choose our husband. To uncover his feet. And to cover ourselves up with his covering. Declaring the words that you are my kinsman redeemer. You came as my kinsman redeemer. You came to redeem me from slavery. You came to redeem me from bondage. You came to redeem me from the power of darkness and death. And to bring me into your marvelous light. You came to restore my possessions and my lands. And your shed dung, it does this. Your shed dung restores shalom between mankind and Elohim. It tears the veil, and there is no more separation. And it is the Ruach who enters us, who takes us beyond the veil. Flesh and blood cannot go beyond the veil. Do you understand? Flesh and blood cannot enter beyond the veil. We're not talking about some earthly haiko. We're talking about his temple in Shamayim. Flesh and blood cannot go beyond the veil. We can only go beyond that veil in Ruach. And the shed dung of Yahushua does that. It divides the barrier. It tears the veil. It restores shalom between mankind and Elohim. His shed dung restores the everlasting covenant between Yahuwah and man. This is the good news. It restores the covenant between Yahuwah and Adam, mankind. This is the good news. All you have to do is eat of his flesh and partake of his blood by belief. And true belief will lead to righteous sorrow. True belief will lead to true obedience. True obedience will lead to a true immersion. A true immersion will lead to a true immersion. And the immersion of the Ruach HaKadosh, which will cause a greater separation, receiving the seal of the living Elohim. Yahushua is the full armor. Come on, read.
Above all, having taken up the shield of belief.
Oh, come on, little one. Say it again. Above all what?
Having taken up the shield of belief.
Above all, I told you, belief separates the righteous from the unrighteous. Belief will save your life in this season. Belief will save your life. Above all, taking the shield of belief by which
with which you shall have power to quench all the burning arrows of the wicked one.
With which you shall have power to quench some. To quench a part of, a fraction. To quench all of the fiery arrows of the adversary. Believe. You say, well, how is belief, Hamashiach? The master told you at the beginning of this teaching that belief is spiritual. Belief is Ruach, AMANA. Aleph, Mom, Noon, Hey. Mom, represented by water. Water always represented by spirit. Belief is spiritual. Belief is Ruach. Yes, it is. You can't believe. You can't truly believe without being in Ruach. No, you can't, because your flesh won't let you. Your flesh will not allow it. You can't truly believe and operate in true belief outside of Ruach, outside of Yahushua HaMashiach, outside of the complete Alma. Outside of the greatest separation, you cannot operate in true belief. And if you are in Ruach, which is the only thing that the powers of darkness will respect, and you operate in true belief, the text says here that you will be able to quench all of the fiery arrows of the adversary. Belief will save your life. Belief separates the righteous from the unrighteous. Yahushua HaMashiach, the greater separation. Who is belief? Do you understand this now? Belief is Ruach, belief is spirit. Who is the greater separation? Who is the full armor? He separates us from darkness. He separates us from the hand of the adversary. His blood, the blood being spirit, the Dam, the Dalit Mom again being spirit. His blood separates us from the powers of darkness. His blood separates us. He is the greater separation. And he, AMANA, spirit, which is belief, is able to quench all of the fiery arrows of the adversary. You can't do it. Ruach does. AMANA does. He does. Belief will save your life. Ruach gives life. The life of the creature is in his blood. The blood is life. The blood is Ruach. Ruach is belief. Spirit is belief. True belief in this season is going to save your life. If you're part of that greater separation, you're a true believer. 144,000 worldwide. True belief is going to save your life in this season. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And if your belief is not being built up now, go to that threshing floor, that intimate place. That intimate place where you go to choose a husband. Where Ruth went to choose Boaz. Where she went to choose him. Where she uncovered him and covered herself up in his blanket. Declaring that you are my kinsman redeemer. You will cover me. You will redeem me. Go down there and choose your husband at the intimate place. Make that declaration that you are my kinsman redeemer, because he is. Yahushua HaMashiach is your kinsman redeemer. He came to release you from bondage and slavery, from the power of death and darkness, and to bring you into his marvelous light. He came to restore your possessions. He came to restore your inheritance. He is your kinsman redeemer. Go to that intimate place. Cover yourself up in a blanket. Literally, cover yourself up in a sheet and a blanket. Go down there to that intimate place at the feet of your husband, at the feet of your kinsman redeemer. Go down there and choose him. But be warned. When you choose him and he has relations with you, as a man has relations with a woman and he enters into covenant with you and he gives you his spirit, be warned. Be warned. You're going to be proven. You're going to be tested. More than likely afflicted. Great pressure is going to be applied to you to get just one drop of oil. To get just one drop of oil. Nevertheless, that one drop of oil, that pressure, that pruning, that testing, that proving, that discipline is being done to build up a spiritual house. One that cannot be torn down by the adversary, any power of darkness. One which will lead to true belief, which will save our life in this season and lead us to Mount Zion. Come on, read, little one.
Take also the helmet of deliverance.
Take also the helmet of salvation. Who is our salvation? Yahushua. The name Yahushua, meaning Yahuwah, is our salvation. Yahusha, Yahuwah is our salvation. But Yahuwah manifested himself and came in the flesh of man to walk as man, to die as man, to take on the judgment that was pronounced over man, which is the judgment of death. He is our salvation. And he came manifested in flesh as Yahusha, meaning Yahuwah is salvation. We're still talking about Ruach. It is the Ruach who saves. The flesh profits nothing. It is Ruach who delivers. It is the Ruach who sets us free. It is the Ruach who sets us free from the bondage of the flesh and the power of Hashatan. It is the Ruach who saves. Yahusha is salvation. Yahuwah is salvation. The name Yahusha meaning Yahuwah is salvation. The Ruach is the full armor of Elohim. Yahushua HaMashiach, put him on. Put on a greater separation. Yahushua HaMashiach, he will save your life. And you cannot put him on without belief, because you don't see a set of armor on me. You cannot see it. And belief is the substance of things belief is the substance of things expected. The evidence of things not seen. The evidence of things not seen. I don't have to see it. I know the armor is on me. I know I've taken on Mashiach. I know the full armor of Elohim is upon me, which is Yahushua HaMashiach, which is Ruach, which is having the seal of the living Elohim. Which is having the seal of the living Elohim. Come on, read.
And the sword of the Ruach.
And the sword of the Ruach.
Which is the word of Elohim.
Which is the word of Elohim. All of this is Ruach. The full armor is Ruach. The full armor is Yahushua HaMashiach, the greater separation. The whole armor is Ruach. Even the shield of belief, by which we will be able to quench all of the fiery arrows of the adversary. In Ruach. Ruach is belief. You can't believe without Ruach. Through Ruach and the shield of belief, AMANA, we'll be able to quench all the fiery arrows of the adversary. And having taken up the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of Elohim. Which is the word of Elohim. Having his word, his Torah, written upon your heart. Having his promises written upon your heart. So that when the adversary comes to try you, that you're able to take on the full armor and using the only offensive weapon that you have, which is the sword of the Spirit, which is the living Torah, which is the word of the Torah, speaking the word of the Spirit, wielding the sword of the Spirit, wielding and fighting him with it. This is our only offensive weapon, having the Torah written upon the heart. So that when he comes, we're able to regurgitate what is already in us. We're able to regurgitate his promises. We're able to regurgitate his words. No, despite what you say, thus says Yahuwah. Thus says Yahuwah. I stand on his word and on his promises. And thus says Yahuwah. Having his word written upon the heart. Learning to wield the sword of the Spirit. This too is Ruach, because the word is spiritual. In accordance with Romans chapter 7, verse 14, the Torah is spiritual. The Torah is Ruach. The sword of the Spirit is Ruach. The armor is Ruach. This is Yahushua HaMashiach. This is putting him on. Which one can only put him on by belief. By belief. And we must put on this armor in this season. We must put on this armor, because if we have on this armor, as written, the shield of belief will quench every fiery arrow of the adversary. Put him on. 144,000 true believers will have the full armor of Elohim. They will understand that this is Mashiach. This is Ruach. This is the seal of the living Elohim, sealed inside his armor. This is the seal of the living Elohim. 144,000 true believers worldwide will understand the full armor. Will understand that this is Mashiach. That this is the Mashiach. That this is Mashiach, the anointed one. And if the anointed one is on us and him and us, we too are anointed. And the shield of belief will quench every arrow of the adversary. Belief will save our lives. Read, little one.
Praying at all times, with all prayer and supplication in the Ruach, watching in all perseverance and supplication for all the Kadosh ones. Also for me, that a word might be given to me in the opening of my mouth, to be bold in making known the secret of the good news, for which I am an envoy in chains, that in it I might speak boldly as I should speak.
Barak Yahuwah. And he was only able to do so, little one, through belief, through the power of the Ruach, which came upon him through belief. Through belief. Oh, yes, he was turned into a believer on the road of Damascus when he met the Mashiach, a blinding light, as he dwells in unapproachable light, as he is light, and in him is no darkness at all. When he came on the road of Damascus and he came upon that light and he met that light, he was made into a believer. Yes, he was. He was made into a believer. And he took on the full armor. He took on Mashiach. Mashiach became his life. Mashiach became his life, and he was an ambassador in chains. And his whole life became the teaching of the Bashorah, the spreading of the Bashorah and the teaching of the Torah. And even Shaul died without having seen the promise. But he died in belief. He died in belief. Give us another precept, little one. Line by line, precept upon precept. Searching for the ancient path, part 90. The greatest separation has begun. That's belief. The greatest separation is belief. Belief separates the righteous from the unrighteous. Belief will save our lives in this season. True belief will save our lives. Give us another precept, little one.
Deuteronomy 8, 1 through 4.
Deuteronomy chapter 8. Deuteronomy chapter 8. Dabarim chapter 8. Verses 1 through 4. Deuteronomy Dabarim chapter 8 verses 1 through 4. I don't want to rush this, and I'm going to thank you, Master, for self-control. I don't want to rush this. It's going to take as long as it takes. But I desire to finish this one today, if it pleases the Master. Dabarim, Deuteronomy chapter 8. And we're reading what verses, little one? 1 through 4?
1 through 4.
1 through 4. Beginning at verse 1. Read, little one.
Guard to do every command which I command you today.
Guard to do every command which I command you today.
That you might live.
That you might live. That you might live. You must believe, however, to obey. And if you believe and you truly obey, what does it say? You will live. You will live. True belief will save your life in the season. Hear him. True belief will save your life. Read, little one.
And shall increase.
And shall increase.
And go in and shall possess the land of which Yahuwah swore to your fathers. And you shall remember that Yahuwah your Elohim led you all the way these 40 years.
And you shall remember that Yahuwah your Elohim led you all the way these 40 years in the wilderness. Now here Moshe is talking to who? He's talking to the children of 600,000 men on foot who had died in the wilderness. Who what? Who did not believe. Who did not believe. Who would not go up and take the mountain. Who would not go up and take the land. They had died. Now here are the children of those of whom they declared would perish. So here he's saying now, Yahuwah has, you've been with Yahuwah now these 40 years in the wilderness. You've been with him now these 40 years in the wilderness. Read, little one.
To humble you.
And he has humbled you here.
To prove you.
To test you.
To know what is in your heart.
To know what is in your heart.
Whether you guard his commands or not.
Whether you guard his commands or not.
And he humbled you.
And he humbled you.
And let you suffer hunger.
And let you suffer hunger.
And fed you with manna.
And fed you with manna.
Which you did not know.
Which you did not know.
Nor did your fathers know.
Nor did your fathers know.
To make you know that man does not live by bread alone.
To make you know that man does not live by bread alone.
But by every word that comes from the mouth of Yahuwah.
But through every word that proceeds from the mouth of Yahuwah. But by every word that proceeds from the mouth of Yahuwah. So he's saying here, I proved you. I tested you. I tested you to see if you would believe. Because if you believe, you will obey me. You will obey me. And if you obey me, you will live. You will live. Do you not understand, Yahudah? that we are in the wilderness of the nations. We're in the wilderness of the nations, and we, Yahudah, before we are taken up from here, before we are taken to Mount Zion, do you not understand that we may see famine in the whole earth? We may see famine in the whole earth. Do you have the belief that as he fed them in the wilderness for 40 years with manna, and as he fed our Yahuwah during a time of famine for 3½ years in the northern kingdom, when he fed him bread and meat by the mouths of ravens, when he led him to a brook that had not dried up, do you have the belief that if you are his covenant people, that if you are a son of Elohim, that man does not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of Yahuwah? That even if food does not show up for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, that we shall not die until his breath leaves this body. His breath, only when his ruach leaves this body, will we die. Will we die? I'm not saying this is going to happen, but do you have that kind of belief? Do you have that kind of belief? I believe that we will not die, little one. We won't die. We won't die. I believe that we will not die, that we will be led to Mount Zion. I believe this, and you can't shake me from it. I don't care how much unbelief that is in my midst. You cannot shake me from it. I believe he will feed us during time of famine. I believe that we will be fruit-bearing trees during a time of famine. That we will be water-producing rocks during a time of drought. And that we will be light-producing lamps during a time of darkness. I believe that we will live 144,000 true believers worldwide, because the text said so. The text says so. We will not starve of famine. We will live. And the nations, the world will know and understand that Yahuwah makes a distinction between his people. He makes a distinction between his people. And nothing shall destroy me. I can say this because these are not my words. These are my master's words. My master has declared that none shall destroy me. And your unbelief cannot shake me. Do you have this kind of belief? Yahudah. 144,000 worldwide do and will. And 144,000 true believers will live, because true belief will save our lives. True belief will save our lives in this season. If you're true believer, he's going to prove you. He's going to test you to see if whether or not you will obey him. Yes, he will. He always has. If you are a true believer, he's going to prove you and test you and apply pressure to that olive to get just one drop of oil from it. If you are a true believer, give us another precept, little one. Keep reading, little one. Your
garments did not wear out on you, nor did your feet swell these 40 years.
Barak Yahuwah. Barak Yahuwah. Little one, I believe merely because his word says this. His word says this, and he does not change. He does not change. A true believer believes his word, believes every word that proceeds from the mouth of our master. A true believer does not need a sign or a wonder. A true believer simply needs the engrafted word of Elohim. He kept my forefathers. He's going to keep me. I can't speak for you, but he's promised to keep me. But he's promised also to keep 144,000 true believers worldwide from the hour of trial, from death that is soon to come upon this earth. 144,000 worldwide true believers. True belief will save your life in this season. Give us another precept, little one.
Matthew 4, 1 through 10.
Matthew 4. Matthew chapter 4. Matat Yahu chapter 4. Matthew chapter 4. Verses 1 through 10. How are we looking for time, little one?
138.
Matthew chapter 4. verses 1 through 10. Matthew, Matat Yahu chapter 4, verses 1 through 10, beginning at verse 1. Read, little one.
Then Yahushua was led up by the Ruach into the wilderness to be tried by the devil.
To be tried by the devil. Many of you already have this understanding that Yahushua came as the son of Elohim, because Yahushua is Yahuwah. As Yasha'al, the son of Elohim, the firstborn, was led down to Egypt, Yahushua went down to Egypt. And the text declares in the 2nd chapter of Matthew, and after Herod had died, that the messenger went down to tell Yahushua that Herod had died, that he could bring the child back up from Egypt now. And the text declares that this was to fulfill what the Nabi spoke. For out of Egypt, for out of Masraim, I call my son. You will find these very same words in Hosea chapter 11, verse 1. When Yasha'al was a child, I loved him, and out of Egypt, I called my son. He came as Yasha'al. As Yasha'al went into Egypt, he went into Egypt. He came and he followed, he walked in our footsteps in order to trace our footsteps and to walk in our literal footsteps. But where we failed, where Yasha'al failed, he succeeded. Where Yasha'al failed because of unbelief, he succeeded because of belief. And now through him, we have the right to become children of Elohim, not born of flesh or the desire of men, but of the desire of Elohim, being born of water and of Ruach. He came and walked in his footsteps. And so if Yasha'al went into the wilderness for 40 years, he now is being led into the wilderness for 40 days because he came as firstborn. He came as Yasha'al. He came to die as firstborn, to take on the sin of the firstborn who had originally sinned, and this being Adam. Yasha'al being a microcosm, being a representation of the remnant of mankind. Yasha'al representing Adam, his firstborn, his only begotten, his Yaqeen, the apple of his eye. And thus the nations must engraft into Yasha'al via the Ruach HaKadosh, the spirit, the engrafted spirit, the spirit of Yahushua, the Ruach HaKadosh, having the seal of the living Elohim, and whereby becoming firstborn. And entering the assembly of firstborn from above, being a descendant of Yitzchak. Therefore, fulfilling the promise that he spoke to Abram. Walk outside, Abram. Look up at the sky. Do you see the stars? If you can count them, number them, Abram. If you can count them, number them. So as the stars are, so are your seed. So are your seed. When my promise begins to spring forth in the earth, when I began to pour out my breath, when I began to pour out my life, my ruach, the living water, upon all flesh, reconcile all men back to me, giving them life, resurrecting them from death, giving them the life of the Ruach HaKadosh. This is the promise of Abraham. This is the promise of Abraham. So the firstborn is Adam, mankind. Yasha'al is a representation of Adam, firstborn, mankind. Mankind must engraft into Yasha'al via the engrafted spirit and become firstborn. Entering into the assembly of firstborn in Shamayim, being a descendant of Yitzchak, whose father was Abraham, taking part in the promise given to Abraham through what? Through belief. Through belief. Come on, read, little one.
And after having fasted 40 days and 40 nights,
read.
He was hungry.
Was he hungry, little one? And as our ancestors were tested and proven, and as he was taken into the wilderness to be tested and proven by the adversary, and as he suffered hunger, and our adversary suffered hunger, in order to see what's in the heart, in order to show that man does not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of Yahuwah. If you don't understand this now, after reading the words here that he fasted 40 days and 40 nights, you can't do that of your flesh. Most would die. Most would die. But not those who are in Ruach. Once the Ruach leaves, you're dead. As the body is dead without breath, the flesh is dead without Ruach. As long as the Ruach is in the flesh will live. And he lived 40 days and 40 nights without water and without bread. Having Ruach, being strong in Ruach. Thus, man should not live by physical bread alone, but by every word, Ruach, 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 that proceeds from the mouth of Yahuwah. Breath, Ruach, word is Ruach. This is how we shall live. Come on, read.
And the trier came and said to him, If you are the son of Elohim,
if you are the son of Elohim,
command that these stones become bread.
command that these stones become bread.
But he answering said, It has been written,
Yes.
Man shall not live by bread alone,
Man shall not live by bread alone,
but by every word that comes from the mouth of Yahuwah.
but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of Yahuwah. These same words are written in Deuteronomy chapter 8. If you be the son of Elohim, who is the son of Elohim? Adam. Who represents Adam? Yasharal. Thus, in the wilderness, this is the son as a whole, the 12 tribes, the son of Elohim, who represents Adam, firstborn, mankind. This is the son of Elohim. This is the son of Elohim. If you are born of Ruach, you are son or daughter of Elohim. If you be the son of Elohim, as Israel, Yasharal in the wilderness is the son of Elohim, and they were tested and proven, and would cause to suffer hunger, to teach them that man does not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of Elohim. To build up belief, to test, to prove, to discipline, to build up belief. Yes, you're going to be tested, you're going to be proven. If you desire to be a son of Elohim, you're going to be tested and you're going to be proven. And so here, him walking in the footsteps of the son of Elohim, of Yasharal, of Adam, he's tested in the same way. The adversary declares when he was hungry, when he was weak. Yes, he comes when you're weak. He tests you when you're weak, when you're beaten down, when you're low, when you don't think you can take another step. Is when he comes to test you. When he was hungry, he came and tested him. If you be the son of Elohim, if you be Adam, if you be Yasharal, command these stones to become bread. He, although the first Adam failed, although Yasharal in the wilderness failed, he says here, no. And understand this. Understand this. Understand what the adversary is trying to do. Understand what the adversary is trying to do. Yahuwah spoke a word to Adam. He said, of every tree of the garden you may partake of, except of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. For the day that you partake of that one is the day that you will die. So now, had Adam and Kua simply believed and obeyed, they would have lived. But because they did not believe and obey, they died. They were separated. They were separated. Yes, we're talking about a greater separation. They were separated. They failed. They failed. They were supposed to raise up righteous seed. They failed. But if you read the book of Isaiah, I believe around chapter 53, it said that this one here, this seed, this righteous seed will make many righteous. He will raise up many righteous sons and many righteous daughters. He will go in and raise up seed for his dead brother. Yes, he will. And yes, he is. And so the adversary now is trying to cause him to disobey. Just like the first Adam. To cause him to disobey so that he can maintain control of the possessions of the son. And so that he can keep the son in bondage and pull him, the son of Elohim, into bondage just like the first Adam. But where the first Adam failed, he says no. And he did it through trickery. And the same way that he tricked Kua, he's now trying to trick him. You hungry. You hungry right now. Go ahead and turn these stones into bread. You're son of Elohim. Turn them into bread. But to do so would have been to obey him. To do so would have been to obey him. Do you understand? He's going to come to you in trickery. In the same trickery that he came to Kua and Adam, he came to Yahushua. If you be the son of Elohim, you hungry. Go ahead, turn them stones into bread. He fought him with the sword of the Spirit, the word of Elohim. Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of Yahuwah. You must have belief. You come face to face with the adversary. Hear him. The text declares that we will. Yahudah, that he's going to chase us into the wilderness. That's what the text says. That he is going to chase Yahudah, the remnant, into the wilderness. That's what it says. We must have belief when standing face to face with him. We must have belief. and use the sword of the Spirit. Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of Elohim. He succeeded here. He did not obey the adversary. Come on, read.
Then the devil took him up into the Kadush city, set him on the edge of the Kadush place, and said to him, if you are the son of Elohim, roll yourself down, for it has been written, he shall command his messengers concerning you, and in their hands they shall bear you up, so that you do not dash your foot against a stone.
Read.
Yahushua said to him, it has also been written,
read.
You shall not try Yahuwah your Elohim.
You shall not test Yahuwah your Elohim. Read.
Again, the devil...
Wait, stop right there, Brother Yahuwah. Brother Yahuwah. You shall not test Yahuwah your Elohim. Again, he's fighting him with the word of Elohim through belief. Through belief. Now the adversary spoke scripture to him, Psalms 91, the words of Dawood. Dawood is talking about you. He's talking about I. He's talking about everyone who enters into the secret place of YAHUAH'S, his sons. Because only his sons and his daughters can enter the secret place of YAHUAH'S. He came as son of Elohim. He came as Adam. He came as Yahshua. But he says, if you now be the son of Elohim, the point is, if you are truly a son of Elohim, know who you are. Know you are. If you are a son of Elohim, hear him. As he is in Shamayim, so are we on earth. That's the text. I didn't say it. That's the text. The adversary knew this. If you be a son of Elohim, throw yourself off of here, for it is written that his message, he sent his messengers to bear you up, lest you dash your foot against a stone. He still does not obey him. He succeeds. He's tricking him still, flattering him. You're son of Elohim. Throw yourself off. He'll bear you up. Tricking him. You must know how to use the word Yahudah. And to use the word, you must believe in the word. You must believe in it. To use the sword of the Spirit, you must believe. You must believe. You must believe. He knows if whether or not you believe or not. He does. You must have true belief. Lest you obey him and die. Like Adam and Kua. He did not obey him. He lived. He succeeded. He succeeded. Where the first Adam failed, now he has succeeded twice. And not only did he succeed twice here, but he succeeded his whole life. And thus now, him and us and him, the greater separation, the spirit of separation, having the judgment of death satisfied in us, we too will live. But we can only receive him through belief. We can only receive him through belief. True belief will save your life in this season, having the seal of the living Elohim, having Yahushua HaMashiach inside. Come on, read, Lord.
Again, the devil took him up on a very high mountain and showed him all the reigns of the world and their esteem. And said to him, all these I shall give you if you fall down and worship me. Then Yahushua said to him, go, Hashatan.
Yes.
For it has been written.
For it is written, read.
You shall worship Yahuwah your Elohim, and him alone you shall serve.
You shall worship Yahuwah your Elohim, and him alone shall you serve. He spoke Torah. He spoke the word of Elohim to him. He spoke the sword of the Spirit. He spoke the sword of the Spirit. But hear him. He believed. He believed in the word. He believed in the Torah. One cannot obey the Torah, the word of life, without belief. One cannot use the sword of the Spirit, the Torah, which is Ruach, without belief. It is belief that separates the righteous from the unrighteous. Had he been unbelieving, he would have been unrighteous and he would have obeyed the adversary. He would have obeyed him. Do you understand? If you are unbelieving, you're going to obey the adversary. If you truly believe, you will not obey him. You will fight him in the same way that here Yahushua in flesh, coming as son of Elohim, fought him. In Ruach and in truth. But you must believe. You must believe. The moment you do not believe, you will die. And you obey him, you will die. True belief will save our lives in this season. Belief separates the righteous from the unrighteous. Belief separates the righteous from the unrighteous. And it is belief, it is our belief that will be tried and will be tested and will be proven and will be put under pressure so that a spiritual house is built up. One that the adversary cannot tear down. Endure the race. Endure the race. Don't pay attention to the flesh when the muscles start to burn, when you feel weak and tired and weary. Pay no attention to the flesh. The flesh profits nothing. Not by power, not by might, but by his ruach. Endure. Endure the test. Endure the proving. Because a stronger spiritual house is being built up. One that cannot be torn down by the adversary. One that will not submit to him. One that will not obey him. One that will obey Yahuwah at all costs and will not compromise. One that will lead us to Mount Zion. Do you not understand that Mount Zion is not of this earth? And this will not go to Mount Zion. That spiritual house that is being built up is going to Mount Zion. That spiritual house that will not submit to the adversary, that will walk as the second Adam and will not obey him and will not submit to him. He spent his whole life, 33.5 years, and did not obey him. For it is written, we do not serve a high priest, a Kohen Gadol, who cannot sympathize with our weaknesses, but one who was tested in every way as we are, yet remain without sin. So let us now come boldly to the throne of favor during our time of need, that we may attain compassion. He never sinned. And if this spiritual house, which has been built up through testing, through proving, through pressure, through affliction, through trial, this one is being built up in him being that full armor. If it is strong, and it will be strong through proving and testing, as he did not submit to the adversary, as he walked as a son of Elohim, as he walked as a true Yahudi man, a true believer, so will we. So will we. And we'll enter upon Mount Zion to be waved as a first fruit offering, be giving a song that no one else can sing through belief. Through belief. Give us another precept, little one.
Daniel 3, the whole chapter.
How we looking for time?
156.
Barak Yahuwah. One last precept. One last precept. Yahuwah willing. Yahuwah willing, we'll finish this up on the 4th day. It's too important. One last precept. Belief will save your life. True belief will save your life in this season. Hear him. True belief is what separates the righteous from the unrighteous. The unrighteous are unbelievers. Believers are righteous. Unbelievers will compromise. They will not turn around. They will not turn away from the unclean, from that which displeases the master. They will not turn away from disobedience. They will compromise. A righteous one, a true believer, walking in the steps of our righteous fathers and in the steps of Yahushua HaMashiach, will not compromise. Will not compromise, will obey, even in the face of death. Even in the face of death. As Yahushua, who being in the form of Elohim did not account equality of Elohim as something to achieve, but lowered himself as a servant, as a bondservant. He lowered himself as a servant, taking on the form of a servant, walking as a servant, obedient and becoming an obedient servant, and an obedient believer, an obedient servant, even unto death on the stake. Yahuwah has therefore given him a name that is above every name, that at the name of Yahushua every knee shall bow, every tongue shall confess, both in Shamayim and on the earth. He is therefore highly exalted him, and giving him a name that is above every name, that every knee shall bow and every tongue shall confess that Yahushua is Yahuwah, to the esteem of the Father. Daniel chapter 3, Daniel chapter 3. True belief will save your life in this season. 144,000 true believers in this season versus 7+ billion reserved for wrath. True belief will save our lives. It has always been belief that has separated the righteous from the unrighteous. The righteous believe and obey. The unrighteous do not believe and do not obey. It's just that simple. It is just that simple. Daniel chapter 3. Daniel chapter 3 in its entirety, beginning at verse 1. Read, little one.
Nebuchadnezzar, the sovereign, made an image of gold, whose height was 60 cubits, and its width 6 cubits. He set it up in the plain of Dura, in the province of Babel. And sovereign Nebuchadnezzar sent word to gather together the viceroys, the nobles, and the governors, the counselors, the treasurers, the judges, the magistrates, and all the officials of the provinces, to come to the dedication of the image which sovereign Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Then the viceroys, the nobles, and the governors, the counselors, the treasurers, the judges, the magistrates, and all the officials of the province gathered together for the dedication of the image that sovereign Nebuchadnezzar had set up. And they stood before the image that Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Then a herald loudly proclaimed, "To you it is commanded, O peoples, nations, and languages, that as soon as you hear the sound of the horn, the flute, the zither, the lyre, the harp, the pipes, and all kinds of instruments, you shall fall down and do obeisance to the gold image that sovereign Nebuchadnezzar has set up. And whoever does not fall down and do obeisance is immediately thrown into the midst of a burning furnace of fire."
Who does not bow down and do obeisance? In other words, whoever does not disobey Yahuwah and obey me shall be thrown into the furnace of fire. Read, little one.
So as soon as all the people heard the sound of the horn, the flute, the zither, the lyre, the harp, all kinds of instruments, all the people, nation, and languages fell down and did obeisance to the gold image that sovereign Nebuchadnezzar had set up.
True belief separates the righteous from the unrighteous. Separates the righteous from the unrighteous. All these nations, tribes, and tongues bow down to this image. All these unrighteous folks, all these unbelievers, bow down to an image where the Torah says, "Thou shalt not make an image, either what is in Shamayim or what is on earth or what is on under the earth, and thou shalt not bow down to it." You shall not bow down to it. For he is Yahuwah our Elohim. You shall not bow down to it. If you truly believe this, you will obey it, even under the sentence of death. You will obey it. True belief separates the righteous from the unrighteous. Come on, read.
Thereupon, at that time, certain Kasdam came forward and accused the Yahudim. They spoke and said to sovereign Nebuchadnezzar, "O sovereign, live forever. You, O sovereign, have made a decree that everyone who hears the sound of the horn, the flute, the zither, the lyre, the harp, the pipes, and all kinds of instruments shall fall down and do obeisance to the gold image. And whoever does not fall down and do obeisance is thrown into the midst of a burning furnace of fire. There are certain Yahudim whom you have set over the work of the province of Babel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego."
True believers always separates the righteous from the unrighteous. Come on, read.
"These men, O sovereign, paid no heed to you. They do not serve your Yahuwah, and they are not doing obeisance to the gold image which you have set up." Then Nebuchadnezzar, in rage and wrath, gave orders to bring Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Then they be brought, these men, before the sovereign. Nebuchadnezzar spoke and said to them, "Is it true, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that you do not serve my Elohim, and you do not do obeisance to the gold image which I have set up?"
Come on, read.
"Now if you are ready when you hear the sound of the horn,
Come on,
the flute, the zither, the lyre, the harp, the pipes, and all kinds of instruments, and you fall down and do obeisance to the image which I have made, good. But if you do not do obeisance, you are immediately thrown into the midst of a burning furnace of fire.
Come on, what'd they say?
And who is the allure who does deliver you from my hands?
Oh, this is boastful man. Come on, read.
Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the sovereign,
Read.
O Pt.90, we have no need to answer you in this matter.
Wait, listen, King, we ain't got no need to answer you. We have no need to even give you a word. Now, these are sons of Abraham. Because Abraham had a similar instance. He had a similar instance when he faced another wicked sovereign who was the founder of Babal. We're going to talk more about this on the fourth night. Who was the founder of Babal, whose name is Nimrod, who was the founder of Babal. He faced him in a similar manner, and in a similar manner, he did not fear him. He did not fear him. The word declares of all who tries to save their life shall lose it. If you're afraid to lose your life, you will lose it. Or if you try to save your life, you will lose it. He didn't fear him either. In fact, I recall the words of the one, he called him a foolish king. You sound like a foolish king. Oh, this is a true son of belief. This is a true Yahudah. These are true sons of Abraham. They said here, we have no need to answer you, sovereign Nebuchadnezzar, in this matter. Come on, read.
For if so, our Allah whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning furnace of fire, and from your hand, O sovereign, he does deliver.
Barak Yahuwah, little one. Did not Paul say, and take up the shield of belief, which the master has taught us, his spirit, is Ruach, is Yahushua HaMashiach. We getting ready to read, Yahushua is going to appear in this fire. Is Yahushua HaMashiach, by which you are able to what? Quench every fiery, fiery dart of the adversary through belief. Oh, they don't understand. Abraham did, and the fire did not quench. The fire did not singe him. Come on, read, little one.
But if not, let it be known to you, O sovereign, that we do not serve your Elohim, nor do we do obeisance to the gold image which you have set up.
We ain't gonna serve you. For our Elohim, Yahuwah, Al Shaddai, is able to deliver us from this fire. But even if he does not, see, little one, that hall of fame of belief. All those who died in the belief having never seen the promise, believed in the resurrection. I will be resurrected, and I will see the promise. I will see the true land flowing with milk and honey. I will see it because it is written. Even if he does not save me or deliver us from this fire, we will not disobey him. We will believe. And he shall resurrect us because his word says so. He shall resurrect us. Oh, many say they believe, little one. Many say they believe. 144,000 true believers in this season worldwide. True believers. Having the seal of the living Elohim. Having been clothed in the full armor of Elohim. Yahushua in them and him in them. Having the greatest separation. The seal of the living Elohim. Having belief. Belief. This is great belief. Having belief. Having Ruach. Having Yahushua HaMashiach, the greater separation, the full armor. Come on, read.
Then Nebuchadnezzar was filled with wrath, and the expression on his face changed toward Shadrach.
He had a temper tantrum, little one, because they weren't scared of him. That's what bullets do. They have a temper tantrum when you're not scared of them. He threw a temper tantrum because they embarrassed him in front of all them good folk. They embarrassed him. I assume he was probably fat, too, because he liked to eat. He was. He's probably a fat king. Probably gluttonous and probably likes to eat and just sitting there with his old fat self and just embarrassed because these three young boys are not afraid of him and won't obey him. They're not even afraid of this little old fire. He throws a temper tantrum. Come on, read, little one.
Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. He responded and gave orders that they heat the furnace 7 times more than it was usual to heat it. And he commanded some of the strongest men of his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and throw them into the burning furnace of fire. You know,
Meshach, little one, it means anointed. Yes, ma'am. It means anointed. Yes, ma'am. True believers. True Yahudim. Heat that fire 7 times. I'm sure they didn't flinch. True believers, true Yahudim, 144,000 of them worldwide in this season. Read, little one.
So these men were bound in their coats, their trousers, and their turbans, and their other garments, and were thrown into the midst of the burning furnace of fire.
Come on.
Thereupon, because the sovereign's order was urgent, and the furnace exceedingly hot, the flame of the fire killed those men who took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And these three men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell down, bound into the midst of the burning furnace of fire.
Come on.
Then sovereign Nebuchadnezzar was amazed and stood up in haste and spoke and said to his counselors, did we not throw three men bound into the midst of the fire?
Did we not throw three men bound into the midst of the fire? Come on.
Then answered and said to the sovereign, certainly, O sovereign.
Yeah.
He answered and said, look, I see four men loose walking in the midst of the fire.
I see four men loosed and walked into the midst of the fire. Read.
And they are not hurt.
And they are not hurt.
And the form of the fourth is like the son of Elohim.
And the form of the fourth is like the son of Elohim. Do you not hear Yahudah? Yahuwah himself wrapped himself up in flesh and came down to them and walked in the fire with them. That the full armor of Elohim was upon them. And the shield of belief saved their lives, by which we're able to quench every fiery arrow, every fiery arrow of the adversary. Oh, it pleased him to come down and take care of his sons. To confound this proud fat king. It pleased him to do so. This wasn't the first time he manifested in flesh in this way. It's not. I don't have time to address it. But it's not. The full arm of Elohim was in that fire. Yahushua HaMashiach, Yahuwah in flesh. And the shield of belief saved their lives. The shield of belief saved their lives. Come on, read, little one.
Then Nebuchadnezzar went near the mouth of the burning furnace of fire. He spoke and said, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, servants of the Most High, Yahuwah, come out and come here. Then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came from the midst of the fire. And the viceroys, the nobles, and the governors, and the sovereign's counselors gathered together, seeing these men on whose bodies the fire had no power. And the hair of their head was not singed, nor were their garments changed.
Fire has no power over a son of Elohim. It does not. Death has no power over a son of Elohim. It does not. Fire and death has no power over a son of Elohim. It pleases him to make a distinction between his people, between his true sons, between true believers. It pleases him to make a distinction. And he will make a distinction in this season between true believers, 144,000 worldwide, having the seal of the living Elohim, versus 7+ billion unbelievers, some of which say that they're believers and who are not. It's going to please him to make that distinction. Come on, read little one.
Nor did the smell of fire come on them. Nebuchadnezzar responded and said, blessed be the Yahuwah of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who sent his messenger and delivered his servants who trusted in him.
Who what?
Who trusted in him.
Who believed in him. Who believed in him. See, these signs like this, Yahudah, are for unbelievers. Signs are for unbelievers. This king, Nebuchadnezzar, did not believe in Elohim of Shamayim and Arat and earth until this happened. Signs are for unbelievers. Nabuah, prophecy, is for believers. After which he believed, albeit for a short time, he believed. Come on, read little one.
And changed the sovereign's order and gave up their bodies, that they should not serve nor do obeisance to any Yahuwah except their own Yahuwah. Therefore I make a decree that whoever of any people, nation, or language who speaks any wrong against the Yahuwah of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego His limbs shall be taken, and his house made a dunghill, because there is no other Allure who is able to deliver like this. Then the sovereign promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the province of Babal.
Barak Yahuwah. True belief. True belief. Save their lives. True belief will save our lives in this season. It is belief that separates the righteous from the unrighteous. Behold, the greatest separation has begun. True belief will save our lives. True belief will save our lives. After this sign, this wicked, unbelieving Gentile king, sovereign, believed in the Elohim of Shamayim and earth. Thus my master has spoken. He will heal me. He is going to heal me. There will be a sign. He will heal me. He's going to heal me because currently, temporarily, I cannot see. And it's been this way for about a year now. You've heard his words proclaimed through me. Many of you, this is the first you've heard this. You've heard of this. This is the first that you've heard of this. Thus, he has sent me to speak to many, to some, to a remnant, but to be a stumbling block to many. This is the first that you've heard of this. But he's spoken and said he's going to heal his servant. He's going to heal his son, so that the nations, the unbelieving nations, believe, and his name is esteemed among them. Most of the 144,000 will come from among them because they're going to believe. And after he heals me, many of you, even some of you who are amongst us, are not going to believe. You're not going to believe. And it is belief as he has spoken. It is belief that separates the righteous from the unrighteous. It is the righteous that will be saved in this season and brought to Mount Zion. It is true belief that is going to save our lives in this season. Thank you, Master, for your word. Thank you for your continued word and continued promises and your continued unfailing love towards your children. For you speak these words because you love them. You speak these words because you desire that they would repent, that they would turn from their uncleanness, their wickedness, their unbelief, and do not be unbelieving but believing. And to believe in you, and to believe in the shed dam of the Son, to be impaled with him in the immersion, to be immersed with him as the heathen declare, to be baptized in his name, in the name of Yahushua, and to be buried with him in belief, and be resurrected through belief in him through the newness of life, thus satisfying the punishment of death that was pronounced over all men, having it satisfied in us through belief in the shed dam of Yahushua HaMashiach, and whereby receiving the separated Ruach, the seal of the living Elohim, who alone separates us, who alone can save our lives. It is this your desire for your people, that none should perish, that none should suffer the wrath to come, that none should be left to the adversary, to death manifested in flesh when he comes shortly to this earth, to claim which is his, which is the flesh, which is the chaff, to destroy it, and he will have a legal right to do so. You have no pleasure in this. You have no pleasure in the death of a sinner. You have no pleasure in your wrath being poured out on sinners, but you desire for all to heed your words, to hear your words, to look not at the man, but to hear the words that are proceeding through the man from you, and to teshuvah, and to repent and receive life. This is your desire for your children. And may these words, Master, these words of life that are being proclaimed to your children, may not one of them be thrown by the wayside. May not one of them be scattered on shallow ground. May not one of them be shattered amongst thorns. But may this word, may this seed, may this noon, the seed, heir, inheritance, may this be planted in fertilized soil, good tilled soil, made conducive to the planting of seed, such that you will come forth with the greater separation, the living water of the Ruach HaKadosh, the seal of redemption, the seal of the living Elohim, the Ruach HaKadosh, Yahushua HaMashiach, and water that seed, such that supernaturally and overnight, quickly, that seed would begin to grow and become a mighty tree, producing a fruit that leads to everlasting life. In the name of my Master, my Savior, my Deliverer, my Elohim, Yahushua HaMashiach, Yahuwah in flesh, I pray. So be it, so be it, so be it. For those of you on YouTube, once again, we're grateful that the Master Yahuwah has sent you our way. We pray, if nothing else, that you will seek him with all your heart, mind, and strength, and that you will go to that intimate place called the threshing floor. It is an intimate place. It is a place where one goes to choose a husband and a husband chooses a wife. As Ruth chose Boaz and Boaz chose Ruth. It is a place, an intimate place where you go to lie at his feet and uncover him. Take a cover with you. Take a sheet with you. Cover yourself. Uncover him. Declare to him that you are my Redeemer. That you are my kinsman redeemer, and you are my husband. You shall redeem me. It is written that you shall redeem me. Take me as your wife. Take me as your wife. You've already paid the bride's price for me. You've already shed your dam. You've already paid a bride's price for me, not of silver and of gold or perishable things, but via your very own shed dam. You paid a high bride's price for me. You've already purchased me. I am yours. You've already purchased me. I am your wife. I'm already yours. You already have a right to me. I'm laying here at your feet. You are my kinsman redeemer. I'm covering myself in you. Cover me with your righteousness. Cover me as my husband. Have relations with me. Enter me as a man enters a woman. Give me your spirit. Give me your ruach. Give me your living water. Write the seal of the living Elohim upon my forehead. Write your name upon my forehead. Give me the seal of redemption. Deliver me. Find me. Find me worthy to escape the hour of trial that is soon to come upon the earth. If you're on YouTube, if you have a desire to join us live once more, there will be an email address. Once this video has been uploaded, there'll be an email address located in the video description box that you can use to email us if you have a desire to fellowship with us live, either on the 4th day or either on the Shabbat Yom. Until the next time that we meet, Yahuwah barak you and guard you. Yahuwah make his face shine upon you and show favor unto you. Yahuwah lift up his face upon you and give you shalom. Thus you shall put my name on the children of Yashar'al, and I myself shall barak them. So be it, so be it, so be it. Shalom.